Giratina is out, and until May 27th, the Lake Guardians are in. This video is part 2 of 3. If you checked out the first one, that covers Azelf. If you're in the Americas and you're like, I don't want to know about Mesprit, well then link in the description to the Azelf video. But if you're in the Europe or the Africa or the Middle East to India region, well, hey guys, this video is for you. Or maybe you're just curious about Mesprit in general, right? Well, Mesprit video, let's go. How to beat it and its use in the meta. And if you're in the Asia Pacific region and you want to know about Uxie, that video is coming out tomorrow. And yes, it is pronounced Uxie, not Uxie. Look it up. I'm going to make this joke like 3 times here. So we got Mesprit here, the pink one. Yeah, and its stat line is pretty general. So where Azelf is more offensively oriented, and as you're going to find out tomorrow, Uxie is more defensively oriented, Mesprit is kind of middle of the road. In fact, its stat line is pretty comparable to the other pixie type legendary / mythic Pokemon like Jirachi, Celebi, Mew, so kind of a similar stat line to these guys. Unlike Mew, and more like Celebi, Mesprit has a pretty blasé move pool though, which doesn't really do it any favors in terms of standing out. In fact, this move pool is the same exact move pool that's shared by all the Lake Guardians, so yeah. Confusion, Extra Sensory, Future Sight, Swift, and then the Flavor move. Mesprit here has Blizzard as the Flavor move. Doesn't really do a whole lot for it, unfortunately. However, it is super effective against Giratina Origin form, so a little bit spicier than Fire Blast or Thunder. Alright, now we can get into the counter graph, the real reason why you guys are here, right? So this is using simulations of level 40 counters, unless stated otherwise, against a tier 5 Mesprit raid using Confusion and all of its charge moves averaged together. Focus on Confusion so it's more aggressive, so you get the best of the best counters. No dodging and best friendship, yeah. Things to point out here is that the duo isn't possible without Foggy Weather, and since Foggy Weather is so ridiculously rare, I decided to not include Foggy Weather sims. And then the trio is 16.67 DPS, which is lower than this graph goes. Yeah, we go down to 17. So all Pokemon featured here will be viable for a trio, meaning all these Pokemon are basically as good as it gets, right? If you're not familiar with the SwagTips graph, the y-axis here is damage per second, so how quickly you deal damage. And then the bottom line here, the x-axis, is total damage output. So the amount of % damage you deal to the raid boss before your Pokemon faints on average. So the more up and more to the right you are, the better your Pokemon is. So pretty standard stuff here, yeah. And in just general weather, not this rainy weather nonsense we got going on here, the best picks overall are going to be, once again, Giratina Origin Form and Tyranitar. It's like all these legendary lake guys are all psychic or some nonsense, using almost nothing but psychic and normal type attacks. It's crazy. Yeah, it's very, very similar. What's different though is Mesprit's defense stat. It's higher than Azelf's, so some things work better here than in other fights. And I'd say this raid definitely exemplifies the importance of breakpoints more so than other ones. Like starting out down here, we have Weavile, and Weavile's actually overshadowing the Mewtwo here. And the reason why Weavile is exploding in performance here over the other Dark-type Pokemon, where in the Azelf raid it was kind of like on the same level as them, is because at level 40, Weavile hits another breakpoint, which takes its damage even further beyond it would had it not hit the level 40 breakpoint. In retrospect, I probably should have included a level 39.5 dot on this graph for Weavile, just to give you guys an example of what Weavile would look like when powered up past level 29.5, but not quite at its peak performance. That'll be in the Game Press article, hopefully coming out on Monday, so I'll definitely update the graph for that, give you guys a more representative example of Weavile here, since this is a level 40 breakpoint. But yeah, Weavile, definitely not too bad, especially if you got the 15 attack IV and you're maxed out, right? Yeah. Another area where we see breakpoints kind of come in an interesting way is with Pincer and Yanmega here in the rainy weather. Yeah, Pincer has a higher attack stat than Yanmega, and with that higher attack stat, it's able to hit a breakpoint that, with its bug bite, that Yanmega can't. And it's for that reason why Yanmega's kind of chilling out down here and Pincer is chilling up here despite having very similar move pools. Another thing holding Yanmega back is that it's OHKO'd by the Blizzard. So any Blizzard sims are definitely going to hold back Yanmega a bunch where they don't hold back Pincer as much. These factors combined keep Yanmega down in the Mesprit raid. Yeah. Since we're going right to left here, may as well talk about Gengar next. And yeah, in this particular raid, Shadow Claw and Lick are on par, so no need to concern yourself too much there. Shadow Claw has like a breakpoint of like level 33.5, and Lick has a breakpoint of like level 31.5, and level 32 happens to be a bulk point for both of them. And to be quite honest, like the level 33.5 point for Gengar for the Shadow Claw is like a teensy bit higher than this point, and then the one for Lick being 31.5 is a teensy bit lower than featured here, but they're all basically operating like around the level 32 breakpoint, so I just consolidated them there rather than making it more confusing. If you want to get more confusing, check out the Uxie graph in my next video tomorrow. Subscribe to SwagTips to get that info tomorrow, and hit the bell, guys. Okay. But yeah, Gengar pretty hot, but you will notice up here I have this lead and lick only thing going on. Yeah, so if Gengar is in the lead position, the very beginning of the fight against the Mesprit raid, and it is a lick Gengar, it does have a higher peak performance. And the reason why is because the circumstances of the lead slot of this particular raid are such that the lick will offer you, through the energy gains, one extra Shadow Ball more often on average than Shadow Claw will. And for that reason, Lick has a higher peak performance specifically in the lead slot. Now I know this is just a one-of thing, but chances are you're probably not going to be relobbying for this fight, and you want to get the most damage in that you can. And if you're going to be using a Gengar and you've got multiple Gengars to choose from and you got to put them in your team slot somewhere, well, you may as well put a Lick one at the beginning, right? So yeah, something cool to highlight there for the DPS lords out there. And then, moving all the way to the left, we have the Deoxys attack form. And I've got the Cloudy Weather boost highlighted here, since you're using Poison Jab. Poison Jab would be boosted by Cloudy Weather. Without the Cloudy Weather boost, this is where he's hanging out. So, not a whole lot of reasons to use the Deoxys attack form in this particular raid over Gengar, where we saw in the Azelf raid that using the Deoxys attack form kind of had a little bit of merit. Here, not so much. But if you already have one maxed out, I guess you may as well include it, even though like Giratina Origin form might be a little bit more practical. Now if you are a more casual player, or you're like lower level or something, and you don't have all these high-end Pokemon at all the right levels and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure lower level Gengars will be functional for completing this raid. If you are a lower level player, you know, you're probably playing in these raids with more than 3 or 4 people anyways, so definitely nothing to be too concerned about. If you are super low level and you want to kind of get an idea what you should be trading for, what you want to invest in, I'd say Tyranitar is probably your best place to start. But if you do have some Giratina Origin forms, since it was the last raid we had, presumably you have a couple of them, well, investing in a little Stardust to bump them up a little bit might be a good idea, since 22.5 is a pretty good performing breakpoint here for the Giratina Origin form. So yeah, you can definitely swag a little bit for this fight. Not worry about the picks too much, and you should be fine. Just don't use those dirty Agrons, because like I just fought Azelf for the first time today, and I was like the only instinct in that party, aside from my girl over here, but she's a little bit of a, you know.
Excuse me?
Okay, so there are 2 instincts in the group of 8, and instinct had like the highest damage by far, you know, and our backs hurt a little bit. I had to take a nap after that fight there. All the Agrons. There's even a Ho-Oh. I don't know why. So yeah, Tyranitar, really good investments. Heck, my girl hardly plays this game and she's got Tyranitars, so get learned up. Now, as far as Mesprit's meta viability goes, kind of hinted at this a bit earlier, but in PvE content, it's really not that hot. Like if Azelf isn't hot, assuming you watched my last video, yeah, you should probably know that Mesprit definitely isn't making too many waves either. It does have higher bulk than Azelf, so it might be a little bit better in PvP, but just like Azelf, the bulk isn't quite enough. There are other Pokemon doing its job a bit better. Pokemon are doing its job a bit better that are like easier to obtain too, so it's like Definitely not a whole lot of merit in investing the Mesprit. PvE content, PvP content, I'm really not feeling Mesprit, so no concerns there. It is a pretty easy boss to fight. You can just plow through it with Tyrantars mindlessly with a couple friends, so you still get the raid rewards, so that's definitely a nice perk. But aside from that, definitely not so cool. Word on the street is that these guys aren't rotating. I'm pretty sure there's going to be ways for us to get all three at the end of the day. But I think them not rotating is definitely of the good, since they are exactly the same like experience aside from a change of hand and stats, you know, like same moveset, same counters. Like, it'd be a shame if we had 3 months of the same exact thing. Sort of like how the Reggies were, but the Reggies had like a little flavor. These guys don't really have flavor. Fortunate. If you got any questions on this content, comment below. Let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, maybe you're interested in how Uxie's doing, well then subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. Oh yeah, if you want that bonus information, right? So if you watch the Azelf video, I gave you some secret swag tips teaching you about how Azelf is, despite being blue, right? It's actually a Team Valor Pokemon. Well, Mesprit here is actually a Team Instinct Pokemon. You're thinking, Ryan Swag, it's pink. Pink means Valor, right? But how can Valor have 2 Pokemon of a trio? Doesn't make sense. So this guy, Instinct. Why is it Instinct? Because as far as the regalia of Japan goes, that whole idea, Mesprit is the mirror, and the mirror has to do with like benevolence and emotion, right? So emotion, I think we can mentally gymnastics to being instincts, right? Emotional, operating on your base core instincts. I don't know. It's a trio, and Uxie definitely has a lot more mystic vibes going on. So you can also mental gymnastics that too. Yeah, Mesprit, Team Instinct. Glad to have you on my team. You're definitely the cutest of the bunch. Although Uxie is pretty cute too, so I don't know, man. Comment below which one of the trio is the cutest. And you can't answer Mew because Mew's not part of this trio.